Okay, so assuming you've read the title or looked at the thumbnail, the start of this episode is going to sound really out of left field, but I swear I'm going somewhere with this. And by happy accident, it actually connects with last week's episode, so walk with me here. Part of the reason I was skeptical of the roster for the Thunderbolts movie when they announced it in late 2022 is because I'd spent the better part of a year or more convinced that the MCU was building to a particular concept. And I know, you shouldn't necessarily blame a movie for not being what you thought it was going to be, but on the other hand, with adaptation comes a certain degree of expectation. And with the introduction of Yelena Belova, John Walker, and Hercules, plus the reemergence of Abomination at that time, I was dead sure that said concept would be the Dark Avengers. Specifically, that Val would be putting together a carefully curated cabal of counterparts for the original 6 Avengers, ranging from anti-heroic to actually antagonistic, in order to curry favor with the public by taking advantage of the team's image. To be fair, I was operating under the naive assumption that Ironheart and Armor Wars would be coming out sooner than 2025 and the 5th of Never, respectively, and therefore that an Iron Man counterpart would easily emerge during one of those 2 projects. And the Hawkeye counterpart? Well, I figured that would be none other than Jack Duquesne, the Swordsman. See? I got there in the end, didn't I? Granted, based on what we've seen since, it feels a little silly to think that this Swordsman could have ever ended up on the Dark Avengers, but in my defense, he's a lot more of a prick in the comics. But it's fitting that Swordsman, or Jacques Duquesne as he's known in the comics, would hit the scene in this particular series, because his comics counterpart is also connected to a Hawkeye. Just not Kate Bishop. Comic Swordsman was a mentor of Clint Barton, the first Hawkeye, and his brother Barney, teaching them how to use bladed weapons. A circus performer and con man, he also had Clint help out with his act while having Barney help out with his crimes. But eventually, Jacques and Clint had a falling out that led Swordsman to strike out as a solo act. Fully as a criminal, just to be clear. He tried to join the Avengers, thinking that he could use the good publicity of being a hero to enable bigger crimes, but got turned down. And then, funny enough, he ended up on the team anyways, but as a mole for the Mandarin, who had faked a vouch from Iron Man to get him on the inside. Despite being a plant, which is a funny choice of words for reasons I choose not to get into, he ended up developing a crush on the Scarlet Witch, like everyone else at the time up to and including Mag-fucking-Neo, and it was this crush that proved to be his undoing on the team. While trying to disarm a bomb that the Mandarin had planted, hoping to save Wanda, the Avengers believed he had been setting it instead. He then eventually rejoined the team after some encouragement from Mantis. Yes, the one from Guardians of the Galaxy, but also kind of completely different, no I will not elaborate, who he'd fallen in love with. But soft, ye of fickle heart. Only to die saving her from Kang the Conqueror for reasons relating to that Celestial Madonna saga I'm pretty sure I vowed never to explain. Although he's pretty much stayed dead since then, Swordsman left enough of an impression that he's still considered a better member of the team than official worst Avenger ever Dr. Druid, and while MCU Duquesne is a pretty significant departure from the source material, I'm very interested in seeing more of him in both Daredevil Born Again and hopefully beyond. Especially if it involves more clowning on the AVTF, because fuck those guys and every other similarly acronymed community terrorizing jackbooted fascist thugs. In fiction, of course. No applicable metaphor to real-life events here. Why would you even say that? That's so weird. Next week, definitely someone else from Daredevil. It's just a question of who, exactly.